I don't know why I'm standing. I think my voice might sound better when I stand up. I'm not sure. Little story. I moved here 13 years ago. My wife and I, 4 children. They were all under 4, and we lived in a house bus, and we bought a yurt. We lived that way for 2 years. We rented a piece of property off some friends for $300-400. There's some affordable housing right there. We came with careers, and we pulled it together, and they were able to purchase a home maybe 10 years later. The point of that story is that Kaslo attracts innovative, dynamic people. We're never going to be able to house every single person that comes through our town. How many people come through our town every single year? It takes a certain person and a certain family to stick it out. That's not saying we shouldn't support people and create some of these dynamic ideas to increase our housing stock. That's definitely on the cards. Talking to one of our leading realtors, Call Najar, her take on affordable housing is basement suites. You have someone renting that, affordable, and the mortgage is a little bit cheaper, so you have two bangs for the buck there. And I like that. I like maybe tax incentives for these types of properties. The other thing that we do have going for us is an amazing team of council that is up on the grants. We're networking, that's my forte, really well with ministers, with the premier. We've got a fantastic staff down at the village office that is up to date on all the grants and are incredible grant writers. Partnerships, I heard that word many times, and I think that is the key. Partnerships with the Kaslo Housing Society to actively attach these grants. And let's not forget about the Abbey Manor and the work they're doing. They've got a shovel-ready project also there, ready to go. We've got to support these groups. We've got to network with CBT. We've got to network with the funders to make this stuff happen. And I'm really excited this time because good things are happening in our town, and there's a good bunch of people stepping forward to help that. Thank you.
So a while back, a few years back, I worked for a construction company building stormwater tanks for apartment complexes. So I know how much work it is to do a project where you have to completely dig up the earth and start from scratch. But one of the most amazing things about Kaslo is the people, and I know that any project we can handle. Everybody here, there's so many amazing groups we can handle pretty much anything we put our mind to. One thing I've always kind of wondered about is, ever since I got here, was those 2 big apartments, or whatever you want to call them, that are sitting just above the bay. I don't know if they're still tied up in court or what the issue is with those, but they're so close to being finished. I know there's a lot of people that didn't want them there, a lot of people that didn't want any more at least, but there's 2 there, they're already there. So we should either finish them or just tear them down. So I think the great idea would be is, since we've already got something that started there, we need to get them inspected, if we're allowed to, if it's not still in the courts. We need to get them inspected and see if we can finish them up without it costing too much. We've already got the base there, we've already got the foundations built, and we've already got the buildings pretty much completed. Thank you.
I couldn't help notice earlier as I was walking around the back of the room, the charts in the middle back there. And bottom right one in particular, which shows how our rental costs in and around the area. Kaslo is the only place that falls above what is considered fair market rent. Be $1,102 typically. The average rent here is about $1,150. So it's close, but it's still more than what is fair or affordable. That's why we have to take, well, not have to, but that is why the village will need to partner with Kaslo Housing Society to take the private portion out of the rental market, because only then will it truly be affordable. As long as it's in the private hands, the landlords are going to be out to make as much money as they can. That's not necessarily going to make it affordable for any of the renters. So partnership is a way to go and to develop as much of the village land as we possibly can.
So earlier I advocated a partnership between Kaslo Housing and the village. and it's based on this document. This is a scan, leading practices in affordable housing in small communities, put out by BC Housing last fall. There are two projects that I looked at over the weekend that took my interest that I want to find out more about. One is in Smithers, with the local community association partnering with CMHC. The other is even closer to home, in Trail. And it's a partnership with BC Housing, federal government, Kootenai Savings Credit Union, and Tech Metals. The big issue facing the housing society is how do they get the infrastructure in place so that they can start building. And they can correct me if I'm wrong, but I understood they got turned down on a project because there wasn't the capacity for them to build the infrastructure. So we, as a community, need to think how we are going to help them. It's not going to be a mayor and 4 councillors or 10 people on a board that do it. It's going to be everybody in this room that's going to build this housing. It's going to happen in the same way that we preserved the Moy, in the same way we built the arena by subscription, and the same way that a new clubhouse was built for the golf course. We have to come together. We have to decide that it's not acceptable for 1 in 4 children in this community to live below the poverty line. For the average income, the median income, to be 80% of the regional district. For 1 in 4 people in this community to live below the poverty line. Council by itself doesn't have the capacity to build public housing. I understand that. What I'm saying to you tonight, though, is what are we going to do about this? Not individuals, but as a collective community. That's what will help us move forward, incrementally, step by step.
Don, do you want to add anything? You're quite welcome if you want to step up and say something.
Thank you. I'm happy to answer questions if anybody has some, but I think you spoke a really great job. Thank you,
Okay, well, thank you everybody for wholesome answers, and there's so much detail and so many different ways to crack this nut that you can't possibly have said all that's on your mind about this and all that you have been thinking over. This is not the format to, it's not the book. So at this point, I would like to invite anybody in the audience to come up to the microphone and ask that question that somehow or other you guys were not able to address in your little 2 minutes here or your 2 minutes there. We got one here.
First, thank you everyone for stepping up to the plate to do the work for our community. I guess a lot of the answers I've heard tonight are kind of like Tylenol and Advil for the headache. I think there's a lot of complex reasons why we have this issue, and Amy mentioned one, which is especially now the building code. I feel there's more. What's interesting is the 2 main questions that Erica brought to the table were Airbnb and dark houses. And I'm sure, Rob, I'm wondering how the folks from Okotoks came to find your house, and why Airbnb is so lucrative. And I feel like a big part of that is we have, because of lack of forestry and other good economy anymore, we go for low-hanging fruit of tourism. And we're all tourists at one point. I don't think tourism's a bad thing. I think we are almost putting all our eggs in one basket, and there's a lot of negative things that come from that. In housing, and as Andy just mentioned, low-wage jobs. He mentioned the high level of poverty in Kaslo. But Airbnb is lucrative because of the supply and demand, and the real estate prices almost demand if you buy a house, you use Airbnb to pay for it if you have a Kaslo job. I'm just wondering if there's any ideas beyond, I guess, beyond just providing some houses if we can manage it. Is there any thoughts around how tourism is tied in with causing the issue, and do we have other focuses for economy in Kaslo? Because I know as enablers, local government plays a huge part in that. And just like with Airbnb being sending some of its taxes to the Kootenay Lake Tourism Organization, when perhaps it could be going to our local housing society. I'm wondering if there's any thoughts on that as a whole.
Yeah, everybody like the Kaslo Bay, the townhouses over there. People say, well, they got to be torn down. They're full of mold. And I'm going, well, if you got air on both sides of a piece of wood, you don't have mold. And what that black on the wood is, that's just the iron and rainwater. So, you know, council has discretionary powers. They can approach the receivers and potential investors in the Kaslo Bay, and you know, they're talking about implementing development cost charges and all kinds of other costs and taxes. Council can negotiate with them and with the potential investors to invest in finishing those buildings and building some affordable housing, some small houses, private houses, so they can. That's all private land, and the council wouldn't go on the land and put in roads or water lines or anything like that. But council can negotiate with the investors and deal with taxation and regulations and give some concessions. And that would be, for 10 years, those buildings have been sitting there. And so I think it's time for a council to take the initiative to contact the receivers and to look for potential investors, because private sector is a good solution to affordable housing as well as the Kaslo Housing Society. We don't have to concentrate totally on Kaslo Housing Society. Get the private investors involved too, and if they can realize a profit out of it, they'll get involved.
I'm going to